Hey guys, hello and welcome to Spud Life with me, your host, Tatty Tim. Okay, so without further ado, let's crack on with this week's episode. Like to go. Hello, here we are again. Welcome back to the Caravan of Love. And today I have got a very, very special guest, a very old friend of mine, even though he's not as old as I am, nowhere near as old, but I've known him a very long time, and I'm happy to present everybody, the world, Mr. Brad Reed. How you doing, buddy?
Tim, pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming, dude.
No worries.
So, I mean, what a life story you've had, man. I mean,
Yeah.
theoretically, I suppose you shouldn't even be here, should you? If you listen to the doctors when you were how old?
I was 11.
11.
Yeah.
So Brad had leukemia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brad had leukemia when, as you just said, 11. Can you talk us through it? Is it you happy to?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the initial? Did you feel tired or what? Or
yeah. So for 2 weeks when I was walking to school, I just kept getting really out of breath.
Right.
Really fatigued.
Yeah.
On the cusp of sleeping in.
Right. And you were prior to this happening, you were just fit as a flea, just normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a normal lad.
Yeah, I was just
on,
going out, climbing trees, skateboarding,
doing
what kids do.
Yeah.
And it ended up walking from Castletown to Weatheriggs.
Right.
It took me about an hour to walk to school, to get to North Lake School.
Right.
And
for an 11-year-old as well.
Yeah. I was getting told off by teachers, "Oh, you're late again."
Yeah.
Like, why are you being late? Why are you truant? And I was like, I'm running out of breath, and they didn't believe it.
No.
They thought I was telling porcupines.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, I went to Silliff with my dad.
Right.
And his girlfriend at the time, and me and my sister decided to go on bumper cars.
Right.
And these things were rickety. Like, these things have been here a long time. And like, you know what? The more dangerous, the more fun. Yeah. That was the mindset. And we went on these bumper cars, and they had these really haggard seatbelts. Like, they didn't keep you safe. They hurt when you bumped into stuff. And I got home, and I had a huge bruise right across my torso.
Right.
And it was that bad. My mum had thought my dad had been hitting me.
Really?
That's how bad
it was.
The bruise was.
Bloody hell.
And mum was like, bumper cars don't do that.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, I don't know, it was like the catalyst. The next morning, all symptoms just bang, 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 just hit me.
Did it?
It's like it triggered something.
Just like a complete train.
Yeah. I was pale, waxy, very sweaty. Like, I didn't look healthy.
Yeah.
And I was off on the Monday, and it was the start of SATs week.
Right.
And it was my English exam.
Right.
And my mum had to call in sick for me. And the head teacher at the time was like, well, if he's sick, he's sick.
Nice bit of sympathy.
Yeah. But all the teachers thought I was faking being sick.
Yeah.
And I went in on the Tuesday, I sat 2 exams, so I sat my English and my maths.
In the state you were in?
Yeah, in one day. They gave me cups of tea, toast, because we had like this breakfast club before the SATs.
Yeah.
And they took me home. And by Wednesday, my lymph nodes had swelled up in my neck. Colossal size, like they were so big.
So you had a Tyson neck?
Yeah. It didn't fit my body structure. It looked obvious. So I went to the hairdressers that day, Mirage over in Gilwilly Estate, when Jackie had it. And she said, "Brad, your neck's really swollen."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "It's out here." So I went back and I told my mum, "Oh, Jackie said my neck's swollen." And then my mum looked, she's like,
"Yeah, it is."
"Oh, hell. Like, it is swollen. We'll take you to the doctors." So she took me to the doctors.
Yeah.
And I told them about the symptoms I've been having. Out of breath.
Yeah.
Asthma. You've got asthma. It's like, asthma, that's amazing. Like, come to that conclusion. So they gave me an inhaler, and then with my lymph nodes said, glandular fever. Asthma and glandular fever in one diagnosis. That's amazing. Like, I didn't think that at the time. I just went with it with being 11.
Yeah.
And then...
You're more cynical than this you are now.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I was getting no better. And by Friday, my mum had to plead with the on-call GP. It wasn't my GP. He
even
was off.
Then it was
because Theo Weston was off. You see,
right,
he did mountain rescue for some time.
Yeah. And he's the beep doctor as well.
He is,
I've worked with Theo quite a lot of times when I was in the fire crashes and whatever.
Hey, good man.
Oh,
excellent dude.
Awesome doctor.
And so my mum pleaded with this, I can't remember her name, pleaded with her, please get my son a blood test. So she took a blood test and they sent it to Carlisle. Carlisle, like,
what do we do?
What's this? Like, we don't know what we're looking at. We'll send it to Newcastle. So they sent it to the Carlisle phlebotomy labs. They came back like within 2 hours of getting my blood taken. You need to get your son to Newcastle Royal Victoria Infirmary now. So my mum just came in from Morrison's after doing a shop. And I remember it vividly because she bought me some Haribo Tanktastics to feel better.
Yeah.
And she's like, Brad, you need to go and pack a bag. I'm like, okay. 11 years old, naivete is brilliant, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll pack a bag. What will I need? A bit of stuff. She said, just pack what you think you'll need. So I did. And then got in to the RVI and they're plugging me up with this cannula in my arm. And I'm like, what? What's this?
Yeah.
And they hooked me up on fluids. And I'm like, but again, not thinking much of it. Yeah. I'm still thinking day in, day out a job.
Yeah.
And then I remember vividly watching Father Ted on Channel 4. It was the...
not the Christmas edition.
Is that the one where they're stuck in the
lingerie department?
In the yeah. And like, just leave me behind. Yeah, it was that episode actually, and I was there eating toast, or feeding me loads of toast.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Winderbank, who was one of the consultants for the ALL.
Right.
Patients that's acute lymphoblastic leukemia, that's more common in children.
Right.
It's a 5-year treatment rate over 5 years, small bags of chemo.
Right.
But it's gentler.
Yeah. It's not as intense.
He came and says, oh, you've got ALL. Mum broke down. She's like, you understand what you've got? And I'm like,
not a clue.
Not a clue. Yeah. I'm 11. You know, I don't think about these things. Yeah. And the following morning, my future consultant, Rod Skinner, he's heavily praised in the oncology area.
Is he still working in the North East as well?
Yeah, he's semi-retired now though, and he mostly does consultation out of the hospital now.
Right. Yeah.
I actually emailed him the other day telling him how I am. Yeah. Like I lost touch with him because as I got older, it's like, you're past your prime now, Brad. Go on to someone else. And he introduced himself. Said, unfortunately, you've got the worst one. It's AML. Ultra rare in children.
No way.
Mum's like, what's his survival probability? 23.7%. I was like,
I mean, that's
when it hit. That's when I caught, and I was like, oh, damn, like this is not good. And straight away, chemo, like not even day in, boom, straight on chemo.
Wow.
And within 2 days, I felt so sick.
I was going to say,
like,
because imagine for an 11-year-old. I mean, I've touched wood, thankfully I've never had it and I hope I never do.
Yeah.
But I do know people that have, and there's a friend of mine, he's got this bizarre kind of autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
It's like 1 in 50 million, not that many, but it's ultra rare, right?
Yeah.
It's rare to the point that I think he ended up going to Newcastle and they took all this, they thought it was some sort of tropical disease, but in a nutshell, he has to have chemo, I think, twice a year.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect him, so he just sits there, and apparently they give you sarnies and stuff, don't they?
Yeah,
and he
from
just
the
sits and eats everyone else's sarnies.
It sounds very similar to, so your body's got what's called T cells.
Right.
And when your T cells go into overdrive, it's not good on your body.
Right, yeah.
And when you've got cancers, your body exacerbates these T cells and it makes you very, very sick. So it sounds very similar to that because they use chemo and autoimmune suppressants to, no, hold on, you're overproducing.
Yeah. Down
you go, because it can have the opposite effect.
So is that what they did? Is that what they were doing with you?
So yeah, with already having acute myeloid leukemia, your white cells are arousing these T cells.
Right.
And that's what multiplies the cancer cells.
Right.
And that's when you get put on chemo.
Yeah.
It's trying to tone down your cancer cells. It's similar to people with alopecia.
Right.
The T cells attack the follicles in the scalp.
Right, yeah.
And then hair falls out.
Yeah,
it's just pretty much suppressed. No, stop doing that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
It's just essentially your immune system going into overdrive, and it can have the opposite effect of a healthy immune system. So it can make you very, very sick. It can inflame your joints, skin cells, exacerbate your hair follicles, dry your eyes out. Like it's awful stuff.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah. So that sounds very similar.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I've known a couple of kids actually with deficiencies like that.
Right.
In Newcastle, like, because that was the hardest part of going through such a crappy illness already. Was you meet these kids, teenagers, you make friends with them, and then like a week later, like, oh, where's such and such? Oh, they passed away. They passed away in the night. It's you know, so
that's like brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's growing up in 100 miles an hour.
Oh, straight away.
Isn't it?
You know, and it does change you.
Absolutely.
Like massively, like mentally, like witnessing that at a young age. You know.
Well, you kind of go from like being a normal kid, like you were saying, playing on swings and doing what kids do, to suddenly being in this environment where there are other people of your peers, your age group, that are literally dying right in front of your eyes.
Absolutely, like there was one that vividly, I won't say his name, but 2 years old, and he was diagnosed with eye and brain cancer at 2.
Oh my God!
You know, and it was that moment where I just stopped believing in anything spiritual, any higher power. I was like, nah. If there was a higher power, that would happen. Yeah. You know, like, and bless him, he didn't make it. Like, and you know that hit me really, really hard. And that was all happened like in the first diagnosis. You know, I made 7 friends, 5 survived.
So how long were you in hospital? From you know, when you went in that first day, did you not come out for a while?
About just over a month, I'd say. I was in hospital. Yeah.
For that initial time?
Yeah. Right. And then I finished my first round of chemo, got to go home. But that's another battle in itself, because it's like, yes, I get to go home. Yeah. If you get a temperature over 38, you're back in. Yeah. You get an infection, you're back in. Yeah. If you feel weird, you're back in. Yeah. So it was kind of like being in prison and then being put on probation and then getting brought back in again for reoffending. That's the only way to describe it. It was awful. Like, you know, like it wasn't great. No. Yeah. Like, and that was my life up until I was about 12.
So the best part of a year, you were backwards and forwards.
And you know, I fell ill during my SATs week, and then I got back to school, first year at Ullswater, and I'm like this pasty, thin, pale kid, wearing a bandana because my hair still hasn't grown back at this point. You know, I literally looked like death warmed up. And I remember the first day of being at Ullswater, some dude snatched my bandana off my head, threw it off the roof. And they were all told, every year group was told, right, you're going to get this kid, he hasn't been well. Yeah. Treat him with respect, essentially, and I wasn't treated with respect. And
kids are awful.
They are. But to be fair, at least back then you can stand up to a bully. Now, I feel worse for kids now. Social media.
You know, at least then it was kind of face to face, and that was it, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, you didn't then get bullied when you got home.
But face to face, you could do something about it. Of
course you can. Yeah.
Per se. Yeah. But I didn't do anything about it. I was in no fit shape to do anything about it.
Physically couldn't.
No. My sister had something to say though, because they were in her year. Right. And and then I maybe enjoyed a good 7 months of being in secondary school. Yeah. Bang. Sorry, Brad. You got leukemia again. I was like, oh damn.
So they'd kind of cured it, or just kind of?
I was in remission. Right. I was in remission, but the trouble is with leukemia cells, cancer cells in general. Yeah. Very good at hiding. Yeah. They're good at hiding in plain sight. Yeah. What's a good analogy? John Carpenter's The Thing. Right. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it. You got this foreign cell in your body, and it starts assimilating white cells. Yeah. In my case, it was white cells. It then assimilates into the white cell, multiplies the white cell, expels, separates, spreads to other white cells, and it just assimilates all your white cells. Yeah. And it's good at mimicking white cells. Yeah. So it's only until you get a blood test you think, Brad, your white cells are over 20,000. What on earth?
Yeah.
That's when they know, something's not right. But straight away, my results came on that computer. Cancer again.
Yeah.
So I had a bone marrow harvest the first time I was ill. So that's what anybody who wants to donate bone marrow goes through.
Yeah.
My wife was telling me to now do it through your blood. Right. So they've got to take blood out of one, it feeds through another.
Yeah.
And it takes all the bone marrow out of your blood. Right. Now.
But when you did it,
was
because apparently it's really painful, isn't it?
So they drill the hips and through the lumbar in your back, and
just extract.
Yeah, and you are walking like John Wayne for a while. It's not pleasant. Man. It feels like your pelvis has been.
And you were
broken.
Just still 12. God,
it was okay though. So my nana, she came and she brought a homemade chocolate cake and like those little party cocktail like sausage rolls, all homemade. That made me feel better.
Yeah.
But so they had to scrap all that bone marrow. So they took it all out. It's how we can't use it. So in the incinerator it goes. And so I was diagnosed for the second time. And I was put on chemo again. Yeah. Again, straight away. There was no messing about. You in the ward straight away. Yeah. And then it's like, right, well, you need a bone marrow transplant. So I was like, great. So all my family were tested. A lot of them were under 60%. I joked, I said, are you sure you're my family? Am I not adopted? What's going on here? And it's something to do, like the proteins just didn't match. Right. And then eventually I got a match from Germany, a man from Germany.
Just from a complete stranger?
Yeah, he was 93%. Right. But once it got put into my system, straight away, it had grafted.
Did it?
Yeah, wow. Just like that. Within 4 days of having my bone marrow put in, I got a condition what's called graft versus host disease. So a little bit is good because it's showing that your new bone marrow is trying to adapt
to them. Yeah.
And I put it down to that German engineer, and it's
so it's part BMW, part Mercedes.
Yeah. It's all about that Vorsprung Deutsch technique,
It is.
And it grafted straight away, and which is good. And then I was in there for 9 weeks.
Was you?
Yeah. So in the process, you've got to have all your old bone marrow taken out via radiotherapy. So that was 4 days of absolute bliss, being packed in silicone pads, being absolutely gamma rayed with radiation, and then you don't really feel anything at first. Yeah. 2 weeks after that, that's when I knew. I was like, Christ, like the worst case of mucositis in my life.
Really?
So you get mucositis of chemo. It's when you get sores in your mouth. Yeah. But obviously with it being radiotherapy. Yeah. It's like that, but tenfold. So all my mouth had swelled up. All the skin in my mouth was raw.
It's kind of like radiation poisoning, isn't it?
Essentially, yeah. And it went all down my throat. I couldn't speak. Like tears were coming down my face, but no sounds were coming out. Yeah. And that very sight, my godparents had come to see me. My Auntie Lynn and my Uncle Dave, they saw that immediately, like that day, stop smoking, because of what they'd seen. They're like, Christ, you can't describe it. I should have brought some photos, really, but it was so severe. And then because of that and all the other complications I had during transplant, it took me 9 weeks. Like the record at the time, a young lady had been in there for a week. I thought, right, I'm going to break that. It didn't go my way, unfortunately. And the diets are very strict as well. There's only certain foods you're allowed to eat during your bone marrow process. Right. I don't know why. I think it's got something to do with certain yeasts or fungus. Right. It can affect the graft.
So they put you on sort of like a higher protein diet or not? Or is it
not necessarily. It's a very bland, plain diet.
Is it?
That's the only way I can describe it, and it's
just
disgusting.
Enough for you to survive.
Yeah, and they tried putting a TPN tube up my nose, and I just kept spewing those things out. I couldn't keep something constantly in the back of your throat. I couldn't keep them down. So I was like, you know what?
Man, you've been
sod this. Just get me some protein shakes. Yeah. And these the medicinal protein shakes. They're it tastes vile, but it keeps a tube out my nose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I finally got out and getting escorted to the car in a wheelchair because I was confined in one room, like a tiny room. Like I had to wash in a toy boat. Like there was no ensuite bathrooms at this point. This is Newcastle General. It's not there anymore. And
in a toy boat.
A toy boat. So you know, like you know, you had like those paddle boats.
Yeah.
You know that you used to feel as a kid.
Yeah.
Like that. And I had to bathe in one of those with like extra sensitive non-soap body wash, and it was ridiculous. And like because of all the drugs I was on, cold water felt hot to me.
Bloody hell.
It really messed my nerves up. I think it's something to do like the oxycodone or something. Like it just really messed me up.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I finally got out, got taken home, and like every night, my mum was, if I was asleep, my mum would come in my room,
check,
like finger under my nose, make sure I'm still breathing because I'm a shallow breather.
Yeah, I mean most parents do that anyway with young children.
Yeah, like so she was always making sure that I was okay, and I just slowly started getting stronger. And
this was 12, 13, coming into your teens.
So yeah, I'd have been coming up 13 at this point. And just slowly getting stronger, and I made the decision of walking up asking Phil, my dad. Yeah. About 3 months later.
Right.
I walked 7 miles just to get stronger, because when I was having a checkup, it was during the Newcastle Sunderland derby game. Right. Metro strikes are going on. Right. So I had to. My dad couldn't get a car park. Anywhere. He had to park all the way over the General, which from the RBI is not that far. For me, it was far. Every metre I walked, I had to stop. Like, it took me about an hour and a half to walk from the RBI to the General. And it's about a 20-minute walk. Because my muscles were that worn down from not being in a big room. So I essentially had muscle atrophy. So I had to tone up all my muscles again. Like, I had to retrain them.
Did they do that with you or not?
They appointed me a physiotherapist, and just to get my muscle definition back. Like my calves had no definition; it was flat. There was nothing there. So and like I say, I eventually got stronger, got better. Bone marrow was still grafted. You know, hair started growing back. I was starting to get a bit more plump. I mean, I've always been slight, but you could tell that I was putting weight on. There's a difference between someone who's ill, skinny, or just skinny, isn't there? Yeah, that's it. And then, I was good and healthy for a good 4 years. You know, I was back skateboarding. And then I relapsed again at 16.
3 times?
Yeah.
Jesus,
and
man.
It was brutal. I was a lot more adult by this point. I think I'd outgrown my peers mentally. I'd grown up a lot by this point. I mean, I could still have a good time and be childish. I mean, everyone's got the capacity to be childish from time to time. But I was just hyper-focused on getting into sixth form. Hyper-focused on my skateboarding. Like nothing else. Like I was skateboarding nearly every day. I mean, to the point where it was my first job, working at Morrison's. I would Skype the hell out of that first job just to go skateboarding.
And there wasn't a skate park in Penrith then either, was there?
No. So do you want
some water?
I'm good, thank you, Tim. So how the skate park happened in town was it was my friends and myself. We all formed this skate committee. So it was Sid Emerson, Pete McManus, and Barclay were the 4 founders of this committee, essentially. And it took them years. I think it took them like from the mid-90s to get a skate park in town.
Because what era are we talking about now when you were 16?
It would have been 2007.
Would it?
Yeah. Right. And the skate park actually got built just before I fell ill again, actually.
Did it?
Yeah. But all me and my friends, we all went to these meetings. We organised battles of bands, just to get the funds to build this park. And then we were so elated when the park finally got built. You know, that was hard work paid off. Not just for us, but for people like Sid and Barclay and Pete, like who've been pioneering this from the mid-90s onwards. That would have been a bigger success for them than it is for me and my mates, you know, the younger lot. And it finally opened, and the first few months of that park opening, we loved it, but the trouble is it drew a lot of attention from unsavory types, shall we say. People who deem skateboarders and alternatives grebos. And I remember the first firework night we were getting bottle rockets shot at us, like Roman candles were getting set off in the middle of the park.
Was they?
And someone actually caught a photo of me doing a boneless. So they've set a Roman candle on the top of the flat bank, and I bonelessed over it. That photograph somehow got to my mum. My mum went ape. Like, she was like, Brad, you could have lost your face. Like, what were you doing? She was worried I was going to come out with further degree burns or something. I was like, nah, it's fine. She saw me spot my skateboard. All my skateboard was charred.
No way.
Yeah, from that Roman candle. But I didn't catch fire. It was okay, you know. At the time, I was just trying to be nah.
So, do you think, with your love of skateboarding, do you think if you hadn't been through what you'd been through at sort of 11, 12, you would have got into that and gone as extreme as you did go into it, or not? Do you think do you think that kind of moulded your personality, or do you think your personality would have been that?
So before I even started skateboarding, this is before I even got leukemia. I was actually an aggressive inline skater.
Oh, were you?
I was, yeah. So I was a rollerblader. And it was only up until secondary school, my first year of secondary school, I met my future best mate, Harry Palmer. He was a skateboarder. And I had to go on his skateboard, and from that moment,
it was boom.
I was hooked. So I sold my skates, got a board. It wasn't the most expensive, nicest board, but it was a board, and I just molded myself to become this amazing skateboarder.
Well, there was a skateboard shop in town at one point.
Streetwise.
Yeah, was that there when you were?
Yeah, so that was Julie Blundell and Tim Blundell. And I had some great memories in that shop. It was such a good shop.
So it was a good shop.
Absolutely. The wonderful thing about Julie, you'd go through like the Dwindle catalogue and be like, "Oh, Julie, can you get this deck in for me?" And she would do it. She was such a lovely woman, and she'd bend over backwards to get what you needed, because her sons Toby and Kyle were into skateboarding, and I think that was the whole premise of opening the skateboard shop. And
because there would have been one in Carlisle, perhaps, or not?
S4.
Was there?
Yeah, S4. It was a skateboard and snowboard shop. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. No.
And they didn't. Did they have? I know they did have an indoor skate park, didn't they, in Carlisle?
So they've got an outdoor one. The outdoor one came first. That's near the railroad track, just across from the castle.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
And they've recently got from 2018 onwards, they've had an indoor one called Project One.
Yeah.
And that's in Denton Home.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Steve, by the way.
Yeah. Is Steve the?
Yeah, Steve's the owner. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it's just nice to have somewhere to go when it's raining.
Yeah.
You know, and to support,
especially up here.
Because it's like Project One. It's like a DIY project. It's not a big park. It was all hand built. Like no fancy company came in and did the ramps.
No,
So I think. To DIY spots. The South's got plenty of them, you know.
And it's usually done by the guys that are passionate about it. They know what's going to work, what's not going to work. Well, there's not someone sitting in a council office somewhere going, "Oh yes, we'll put a half pipe in there, and then we'll do this." And we'll
great
do that.
example is Portland, Burnside, and Washington State.
Right.
Like Burnside was pioneered as the first DIY skate park ever built, and it was on an underpass. And they just started moulding quarter pipes and bowls into the beams of this underpass. That place has become a legendary skate spot now. It's Grindline Skate Parks.
Right.
Rob Hubbard, he passed away, I think it was like 2019. Pioneered.
Was he one of the early? Because for people that aren't watching this on YouTube, Brad's got a Thrasher magazine T-shirt on. So he's just flashing it off onto camera now. But so that brings back memories for me. So when I was growing up in the sort of 70s and 80s, Thrasher magazine came out, I'd say 82, 83-ish, something like that. And it came out in conjunction with the thrash scene and the skateboarding scene. Because we when we were little, skateboarding had come across from California, and it wasn't the scene that it was to become. It was just, a load of lads, and we just dossed about on skateboards.
It was seen as a fad.
Yeah. It
wasn't.
But then
really...
it became kind of an underground thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I think from what the limited knowledge, I'm sure you'll put me right, but was Thrasher magazine tended to go with like the sort of California thrash bands. So you kind
suicidal
of
tendencies.
Yeah, they
massively.
were massive into it, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think they were the pioneers of probably joining the music and the
scene
kind
together.
of lifestyle together.
Yeah, saying that, Tim, a lot of punk bands as well.
Suicidal tendencies have got massive punk influence.
Oh, massively, yeah.
I mean, I know we're going to talk about music. It's obvious tonight.
Yeah. Circle Jerks.
Yeah.
Another great example.
Yeah.
Like some of their T-shirts. And it's got like the Skank Kid on the front.
Yeah.
And they've actually got, when they did the Californian tour, they turned so. Normally the Skank Kid's got like shaved head, chains everywhere, torn jeans. The Californian one, it had like flannel on, long hair, skateboard in one hand, like. So yeah, they do recognise the audience, but
and it did become a fashion in itself, didn't it? The skater boy look, for want of a better term.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the longer.
I think it's become a lot more popular now.
Has it come again? Vans became a big thing.
Vans again. You got kids wearing Thrasher hoodies, like. And I'm not against that. Like, by all means, don't get me wrong. Like, that's free advertising.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. It's like when you see guys buy Slipknot shirts and Boo Hoo Man.
Yeah,
do it.
Exactly.
You may not listen to it, but promote the band by all means.
Taylor Swift wearing a Slayer t-shirt. It's like, go for it.
Yeah, it's free advertisement.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you listen to it.
Get Take Tim t-shirts, if you want the Spud Life t-shirts.
Support your local Tatey man. But I don't have anything.
So do you think that the whole package was the thing that, I know you said your mate, once you went on your mate's board, it was like boom, but do you think as well it was that whole kind of alternative undergroundy vibe that came with it that also
definitely
kind of grabbed you?
To be an individual when I was a teenager, you kind of condemn yourself amongst the masses because you were seen as different.
Yeah.
Not to take a dark turn, but a great example, that's the murder of Sophie Lancaster.
Yes. Yeah.
She was killed just simply for being a goth.
Yeah.
And...
Which is...
I mean, I remember times walking through Southend car park when it was there.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're wearing a band hoodie, forget it.
Yeah.
You're going to try and get run down. Yeah. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, when we were in school, like, the so-called Grebo kids...
Yeah.
We used to get stones thrown at us.
Yeah.
I got gobbed on more than a handful of times. Like back in the 70s, you take it as a compliment. It's a very punk thing to be gobbed on, but not when you're at school.
And all you're doing is just expressing your individuality.
Exactly.
Isn't it? You're not hurting anybody.
No, absolutely not.
You're dressing exactly how you want to dress.
Yeah.
And you're listening to the music you want to listen to.
Absolutely. I mean,
what's it got to do with anyone else?
I've always had an alternative taste in music. Like... going through my dad's records as a kid, Unfortunately, I did grow up with all that 90s cheese. You couldn't avoid it. I was always the kid at school discos requesting Limp Bizkit Rolling. I didn't want Steps. I didn't want Black Lace.
No.
Like, I want Limp Bizkit, please. Put it on Limp just Bizkit, for me,
Corn.
And and they did, but it was the radio edit versions.
Right.
Naturally, lots of swearing.
And it was just you. You and maybe two mates on the dance floor, sort of pogoing around.
Absolutely. Just recalls me back when I was 18, Dave Elwood.
Yeah.
In the way.
Double Decks. He's a bit of a legend in Penrith for people that don't know.
He knew me from working at Cranston's.
Right.
And I asked him every time I went in the warehouse, The Clash, London Calling, straight away. He's like, this one's for Brad, Clash, London Calling.
What, he'd actually put it on?
Yeah,
would he?
The dance floor would vacate. That's it. Like, everyone's dancing, to the Killers, whatever. Then that comes on.
Everyone goes.
Disperse, and there's me like full on like thrash stomping in the middle of the dance floor, hammered out of my head, like and everyone's looking like, what a weirdo. Like, what? Yeah, it's the Clash.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Exactly. So yeah.
So where do you think your kind of your love of, because I mean, you've surprised me in the past with the bands you've mentioned. I'm thinking, how does someone your age even know about that band, let alone be into them? Like MC5, it's like, how the hell did you?
I regard MC5 the first of the punk movement.
Yeah, they are
absolutely.
100%. I mean, everyone goes on about obviously the Sex Pistols and it's kind of like, yeah, but there are Black Flag and MC5 and a lot of Ramones, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of early New York.
I actually got into a debate with someone on Facebook about this. So they claimed, the punk scene was founded in the UK. We've come out of a lot of very profound punk acts.
Yeah.
And I think the UK brought a lot of anarchism into the punk scene. Because then you had the skinhead movement as well.
Yeah.
But New York, CBGB.
Yeah.
That was ground zero for punk, as far as I'm concerned. And then it moved west.
Yeah.
And then Los Angeles punk scene got in, so you had bands like Black Flag, Circle Jerks. They all came around.
Yeah.
And then it came over to the UK, and then you had Pistols.
Yeah.
Richard Hell.
Yeah.
You know, The Clash.
The Damned, Susie.
Yeah. And it, like say, we brought a lot of anarchism into it, and it just took off.
I don't know whether or not the UK involvement, it definitely gave it, do you think it gave it more of a street vibe rather than...
Absolutely, especially the dress sense, you know, the whole studs, the leather, the safety pins.
Because if we're talking about punk now, I can imagine 90% of the audience listening, I've got a mental image of maybe some Mohican down in London with bike leather on, full of studs, you know,
tartan,
sort of bondage trousers, 15 or 18 old docks, and you know, it's that classic sort of. Whereas I think in America it was more, especially because it was, you think what MC5 was that 70, that was mid 70s, wasn't it? So
I mean, their first album was a live album.
Yeah. So
but they're very, very bold.
Yeah.
And I think that was when they played at Woodstock.
Was it?
I believe so. So
they still had that. They didn't have what you class as a classic punk look, did they? You know? And obviously with these guys, they had Malcolm McLaren, and then with his involvement with what's her name, who's just recently died. Bloody hell. Vivienne Westwood.
That's it.
It was a perfect storm, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the fashion, the music, the time in Britain of.
Funny is with MC5, they were dressed like Nazareth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they didn't look
so
punk, but the sound was so
insane.
punk. It's like, I consider Stone Cold Crazy by Queen one of the first thrash songs.
Yeah.
Just the way it plays, it's fast, it's heavy.
Yeah.
That's what thrash is about.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, me personally, forefront of thrash music, especially speed metal, Motorhead.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a huge Motorhead fan. I've seen Motorhead so many times before Lemmy passed away.
I don't think anyone would dispute that.
No,
at all, because that double bass drum.
Yeah, but Motorhead was the band where the punks could listen to it as well. It wasn't holy metal, because punk and metalheads didn't really get on before Motorhead.
Nah.
You know, like, so for a band to come out to be universally loved.
Yeah.
And hell, I love him, like Motorhead.
But I mean, Lemmy and Motorhead in general, they had that just punk, don't give a shit attitude anyway, didn't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, but Lemmy always held press, doesn't play metal, plays rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, because he was a huge Elvis fan, he was a huge Beatles fan.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't rate the Beatles.
Have you never rated them? Have you not?
I think they're widely overrated. I'm not a huge McCartney fan either.
Do you think it's because we've lived at a time where they've always been there, and it's always been a thing, and maybe if we'd have lived through the 50s and gone through the Elvis thing, and then a band like the Beatles had come out, we'd have gone, whoa. Do you think?
I think they got a lot more interesting when they started getting a bit more experimental.
I prefer them from kind of the poppy stuff is okay, you know, but like you say, Sgt. Pepper's White Album, Let It Be, all the
I think it's when the moment they started taking
when
the
they
drugs.
started.
Absolutely. I mean, could you imagine Jimi Hendrix sober?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think what ruined it for the Beatles for me, when John Lennon went off solo, and he got proper Yoko Ono'd.
Yeah.
And he's playing Johnny B. Good with Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And I remember this because I seen the video of it the other day. It just popped up. And Yoko Ono is in the background going, yeah! I'm like, what? To the point where Chuck Berry had that enough. It's like, cut a mic off. And he did.
Yeah. I think I've either seen it or heard that.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I also found John Lennon very hypocritical. I was all about peace and love, yet he made millions and didn't share it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just find it very hypocritical. Yeah. I don't like people like that. Same goes with Bob Geldof and Bono.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I don't agree with that. Nah. Like, oh, save this, but, like, you've got plenty of money.
All right. As long as I've got my jet to fly around the world.
Exactly. You know, I don't agree with that kind of hypocrisy. Personally.
There's so many of them like that, though, isn't there? So many of them like that.
Absolutely.
So with the punk thing, did you get into kind of suicidal tendencies a thing that you kind of found out about via your skating? Or did you know about
so via skateboarding was my induction to
into
punk music.
Heavier stuff, yeah.
So, and a lot of it is actually to do with the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game.
Right.
Wicked soundtrack. It had Dead Kennedys, Bleach Truck. The moment I heard that song, I was like, phew. And literally from then on, it was like, right, every punk track that I could find.
Is this on a game?
Yeah, this was a video game.
I've never been a gamer, so.
And those games actually introduced a lot of kids to alternative music.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just punk, it was also metal, classic rock, even rap.
So this was on the soundtrack to the
and
game.
It was brilliant soundtracks. Yeah. Like it introduced me to ska punk.
Right.
Like, and from there it just opened up.
Yeah, just new genres.
Yeah.
And what were we? Internet was still in its early
modem.
Days? Was it? So
it'd take you about 3 hours to download a picture.
Yeah. So the speed of just Googling stuff and Spotify wouldn't have existed.
No, it was Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
It was AOL word search. It wasn't even Google at this point.
Oh my God.
So hours upon hours of just looking up music or what can I listen to, and then you find all the older stuff, and you say to your dad, "Oh, Dad, have you heard this one?" "Oh yeah, they were big in my day." It's like, "Oh, well, it's awesome," and even my dad's like, "You're 8 years old, like what?
What are you listening to?"
Yeah. So and then the early 2000s came about, and my music taste built up. So I got heavy into new metal.
Right, yeah.
So your bands like Slipknot, Korn, System of a Down, Mudvayne.
Yeah.
I really got into all that genre.
Yeah.
And from there it just developed even further. And I did start listening to like death metal.
Yeah.
Getting bang into Slayer. Bands like Nile, Whitechapel, Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah. That was proper good heavy stuff.
Yeah, and then it went into black metal, and I started listening to Mayhem and Burzum, and it just went from one extreme to the other. Like on the way over here, I was listening to the Plasmatics.
Was you?
With Wendy O, and that went from that to Mayhem. So it just goes from one extreme to the other with my music taste. Yeah. So, and it's not a bad thing because, especially with playing bass guitar, I've been playing bass guitar since I was 12.
Have you?
Yeah. It develops you as a musician. Yeah. So then you start trying like alternative, picking methods.
Well, it's funny because there's I've had Planet Rock on in the car to and from work, and they've got there's a new series they've coming on all about the bass players, kind of like the forgotten, and then I've kind of, because I play the drums, so that rhythm section, all I ever listened to, like the previous guest I had on, I said to him, he was a pianist, he just hears the melodies, he doesn't really hear the bass and the drums. No. And I said, I'm completely the opposite.
I'm the same.
I just hear the bass.
I'm the same. I play along with the drums. That's it.
And it's funny, isn't it?
Everyone knows the lead singer and the lead guitarist get the limelight. The bass guitarist and the drums are just like,
especially the bass behind. They're usually so laid back and cool and kind of like forgotten about, except for a few. I mean, you look at Flea's like insane.
I think my biggest inspiration for bass guitar playing is Les Claypool. of Primus. Like, a lot of people hate Primus. I don't know why.
They're wicked.
They're just so brilliant.
Well, we've started a podcast playlist.
Yeah.
So every single guest that comes on, they're invited to put 10 of their favourite songs on. So I'm looking forward to your 10. So I'll put the link on it to this episode for people. But I put a Primus track on. I think I put something fairly safe on. I think I put Too Many Puppies on, something like that, which is still good, but the bass...
If we're going to go for... I'd have gone for Jerry's Race Car Driver.
Well, I did put that on. I thought...
Seven Seas of Cheese. It's a brilliant album.
It's a good album.
Yeah. The music video for it was really, really weird, though. Like, really, really weird. Like, they'd definitely been dropping acid when they envisioned that music 100%. Video. Like, it's crazy.
But what would you put them in? So there's Primus, maybe Jane's Addiction. I can't think of any other bands that you could pigeonhole. What would you class that genre as?
Me personally, alternative.
Would you?
It's a bit like Faith No More.
Yeah.
Like, they're not quite grunge.
They're not quite grunge. They're not quite rock.
No, like...
But they've kind of got that...
But they're one of the first bands that pioneered rap rock.
Yeah, yeah.
Same with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's funny because recently I've been listening to the back catalogue, the early stuff, and there's a lot of covers they do of like funk songs, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's like Flea's bass playing just goes
phenomenal.
And then is it Michael Anthony in it? That's the listen.
Yeah.
He's singing along with it.
Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just like, but so weird, for some people they wouldn't get it. But I'm sure Chili Peppers, did they not play? Because I know Anthony Kiedis was in, and Flea, they were in Point Break, weren't they? But was they not in a...
Point Break, funnily enough, is one of my favourite films of all time. It's a brilliant film.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Talking of Point Break, have you ever seen the remake of Roadhouse?
My wife's been watching it.
Oh my God.
I don't rate it. I would rather watch Patrick Stewart's Roadhouse. Not Patrick Stewart. Patrick Swayze. Could you imagine? You're going to get the absolute good thrashing.
That's what got me onto talking about Roadhouse. Because it was, I forgot his name.
Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. So
the great thing about Patrick Swayze is he did his own skydiving for Point Break. And he did 81 jumps for that film. Did his own skydiving.
Man.
So when he's jumping out of the plane at the end, say, "See you in the next flight," and you see him go out that's actually him going out of the plane.
I mean, it was Point Break.
See, he was doing his own stunts before. Tom Cruise made it look cool.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And before Keanu Reeves started doing his.
Yeah. So yeah, like I love films. I'm a huge movie buff.
But don't bother with the new Roadhouse.
No, I couldn't get Jake Gyllenhaal. I couldn't get into it.
Well, because I quite like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I thought, it might be pretty good. And and he was buff. He looked good in it, and I thought.
I think what ruined Jake Gyllenhaal for me. Did you ever watch the film Bubble Boy?
No.
Don't watch it. Honestly, it's not great. It's literally about him getting lied to by his mum, saying he's got no immune system, and he's in like this little
bubble. Oh, actually.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Literally.
What, so his mum's kind of got Munchausen's.
So it's very similar to Waterboy. You shall not pay foosball, Bobby Boucher. A bit like that. He's just been coddled and beaten to say the world is dangerous, he's been put in this plastic bubble.
Yeah.
And he goes on this road trip to find this lass that he likes.
Right.
And
it's not good.
It was a bit like, it reminded me of Waterboy meets Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
You're not selling it,
but I like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It was great. It was a good film. That scene when he gets in the truck with Large Marge and it turns out she's dead.
I've never been a big Pee-wee fan, so I don't think I've ever watched that.
Well, I regard it as one of the greatest Tim Burton films ever made.
Do you?
Absolutely.
See, I'm not a massive Tim Burton fan. Don't hate me for it. But...
I don't hate you for it. I guess I like Tim Burton because being a teenager...
I suppose it would have been that
I was just massively emo because
because you were growing up, so you got your skateboarding thing, you got your music thing, and then Tim Burton brings these
I mean,
is it Night Before Christmas?
Night Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands, like Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
You know, like
Beetlejuice was all right-ish.
Nah,
but he said
Michael Keaton was brilliant in that.
They're remaking that, aren't they?
They're bringing a sequel out.
Is it a sequel?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it personally. Yeah.
So, but they never didn't resonate with me. But I think as well, I'd probably rewatch them and look at them through new eyes. Now.
Yeah.
But I think as well, because I was at that age, it was a little bit too kind of immature. Do you know what I mean? Because I was being
I do get that.
I'd have been in me.
I mean, there's films 30s. Now I watch and I think, oh God, this is juvenile, and I have to switch it off.
Yeah.
You do grow out of certain things. I think. Like,
but then you come back to them because, like the likes of what we were talking about, say with Slipknot and Korn, System of a Down I've always enjoyed, always liked. But like say Slipknot for instance, when they came out, it was like, fucking hell, this has all been done. I know it hadn't kind of been done before with the masks and that, but that kind of shock rock and Marilyn Manson, it was kind of like, this has all been done before. But then it kind of like, so for me in my age, it was kind of like.
I think the pioneers for shock rock originally comes to the Misfits.
Yeah, Misfits.
And Alice Cooper especially. Yeah,
Alice Cooper, 100%. Misfits, like you say.
And then
I think
again, that evolves into other things. So going back to punk, the Meteors, with the whole rockabilly, horror rock, like like.
Well, you see, I'm a massive Cramps fan.
Yeah.
So
I do like the Cramps.
All of their sort of, you listen to most of their songs. Yeah. They could all be in a Quentin Tarantino soundtrack film.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's all that horror kind of rockabilly.
Yeah, well, they inspired bands like Typo Negative. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
I bet you.
Black Number One by Typo Negative, if you listen to the lyrics, it mentions like Lily Munster and stuff like that. It's great.
I bet you Rob Zombie's into. I bet you he's got all the Cramps back catalogue because he's very much that same sort of vein.
Yeah, the ultimate driving tune, Dragula.
Yeah, innit?
You got to whack that up,
Yeah. And you see, I didn't get into Rob Zombie till a kind of White Zombie. They were all right-ish, but then I kind of went off the radar a bit on that sort of scene, and then I came back to it, and it was like Rob Zombie. I was like, what have I been missing? It's like insane. So I kind of like, then thanks to Spotify, it's just like you can create massive monster playlist of all sorts of stuff, can't you?
My playlist is currently running at 3,468 hours.
Jesus,
I've worked out that that's nearly over a year. It's a big playlist. What can I say? And like I say, that ranges.
I bet it's eclectic as hell, isn't it?
I could be listening to punk music 1 minute, industrial the next.
Yeah.
And I do like industrial. I've been listening to a lot of Fear Factory lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those bands that just include like a lot of Geigerism, like, H.R. Geiger, the whole biomechanical aspects of life and that. And it's like, it just goes heavy. Like their version of Cars, like. And
it's not bad actually, is it?
And they actually had Gary Newman do backing vocals for that.
Did they?
Yeah. And so it's just great.
Yeah.
And music got me through a lot of hard times.
I bet it did.
Like, especially being ill.
Yeah.
Like, during when I was 16, like...
I bet it resonated more, music helped you more when you were that age.
Yeah, absolutely. My mum gave me a bit more independence when I was ill the third time, because I was getting to that age.
Yeah.
And, she wasn't at the hospital as much as she was when I was younger. She she respected my space. She realised I'm getting older and I didn't really need her much.
And I'd imagine you were still classed as a child then, weren't you? So you were still
not necessarily, no. So when I was 16 and I fell ill, I had my rounds of chemo. Yeah. Again, every time I fell ill, it was a 23.7% survival probability.
I mean, that's some insane percentage, isn't it? It's like so specific. 23.7. It's like, man.
Because I had subtype 5, which is like one of the aggressive ones.
So it's always been
this thing could finish you off in weeks. It wasn't months, it was weeks.
Bloody hell.
Because I forgot to mention, when the first time I was ill, they diagnosed me on the Friday.
Yeah.
If they hadn't diagnosed me by Sunday, I'd have been dead. That's how far gone it had got. And this is why they're like, get him in now. You need him to get in.
That's mental.
So that the third time I had my chemo straight away, put into remission, but I had a harder time the third time.
Right.
I was just battered. It just wouldn't let up. So I was in hospital for over 7 months without even getting home.
No way.
And I got an infection in my bladder, and I was peeing frank blood. It was just blood, no urine. It was just blood. It was clotting. It was bad. It wasn't great. I won't go into detail because it was grim. I had the nurse come to me. She went up to my mum. So come here. And she's like, yeah, how did he pass this? Apparently it was the size of a tangerine.
What?
Yeah. And then 2 o'clock that morning, they're like, Brad, come with us, we're going to put a catheter in. 2 a.m, the most rude awakening I've ever had.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Not
pleasant.
Nice.
It wasn't
No.
nice.
No.
And so yeah, I had all my chemo, had my hardships when I was ill.
Yeah.
Um,
So 7 months, you're kind of like in hospital
battered
all the time.
Not getting better, just
so I'd imagine you feel like absolute shit.
worn out.
So it's not like you can lie in bed thinking of things, listening to stuff,
No.
getting creative.
I did try and keep myself occupied, so I would listen, because, you know, I don't really let the bad things bother me much when it comes to physical pain.
Yeah.
I just listen to music.
Yeah.
I used to go around my IV drip and skate around on it like it's a skateboard. Like, I'm not even making that up. I got told off loads of times. Like, Brad, don't do that. You've got a chemo bag on. If you're not... Because I had one nurse come over with me with a bag of chemo one day. This stuff's so corrosive, the bag had burst on her.
Jesus Christ.
3rd degree burns up her arm.
And they're injecting this into your body.
It burned the varnish off the floor. It was literally bubbling up the varnish. I was like, what? But yeah, so I got better the 3rd time.
After 7 months, it's kind of like full on assault.
Just bang, 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 bang.
Then,
right, you can go home now.
Right.
And I was due to have a second bone marrow transplant from the same donor. And like I say, my mum gave me a bit more freedom when I got older.
Yeah.
So I went to my mate Carl Jewett's, and a lot of my mates from school were there. He used to have these big house parties.
Yeah.
Like, great. And my mum's like, yeah, you can go. I'm giving you the freedom to do so. You're a young adult now. You know, you're missing out on your formative years.
Yeah,
you need to, you know, be in the social scene.
Yeah.
So I went, and it was just this time. Like, it was just me, my mate Carl, Harry, my mate Tom, and we're playing poker. And there I am, just finished my chemo. Jack Daniels, cigars, just, you know.
That sort of quintessential poker look.
Absolutely. And I got really, really drunk.
Did you?
Like,
I bet.
blackout drunk. I was 4.5 stone at this point. I had no weight to me.
Jesus Christ.
My mates egged me on to neck my bottle of Jack Daniels that I had.
Man, I'm sorry.
And I tipped the whole bottle down, the whole contents went into me within 3 minutes.
I bet.
I just chucked over myself. But
Your body says, nah, we're no
my body just immediately, I've never got drunk so quick in my life. It just like that. And next thing I know, I'm singing along to Alice Cooper, School's Out. Then I remember nothing. I blacked out. My mate Tom thought I was dead.
I bet they did.
I was still drunk, blacked out. And I don't know, within that drunken stupor, I had like this epiphany, like, because my kidneys at this point were packing in.
Right.
And I was like, well, if I go into that bone marrow transplant room again, because remember it's an isolated room,
Yeah.
you're having full body radiotherapy again.
Yeah.
Might finish me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I'm this for the rest of my life.
Right.
So I had this epiphany. I was like, you know what? No, I don't want it. So I had to go into hospital that day. I had an E. coli infection in my Hickman line. So Hickman line's a tube that goes through your chest into your main artery.
Right.
Gives you all your drugs and your blood and everything like that. And I said to Ava, I was like, this is a doctor. Oh no, I'll come in tomorrow. I've got plans with my mate. This was the night I got drunk. And so I went the following day. I did good on my promise.
Yeah.
Mum was like, where's your G? She was like, oh, okay. So we got to the hospital and like, right, we're going to give you the antibiotics. And I pulled Juliet. She was another consultant. My consultant was away on holiday at the time. And I said, look, I've made a decision. I don't want to go ahead with my second bone marrow transplant. I'm just going to take my chances.
Yeah.
And Juliet had known me since I was big, you know.
So you were 17 at this point? 16 still? 17?
just turning 17.
Was you?
And
that's one hell of a decision to make.
Yeah, and Juliet thought the same. She's like, "You're very brave." Says, "I've known you from when you were 11. Like, it's a very brave decision." She grabbed my hand. She says, "It's very brave of you." It's like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." So I was like, "Right, take this out and take this gastric tube out," because I was getting through a stomach peg because I wasn't eating solids. And they took everything out. They did good on their end. They gave me the antibiotics I needed in case there was any E. coli infection left in my blood. And I just went on, and my consultant came back. He gave me a 6-month prognosis. He's like, "Yeah, if you don't have this transplant, you're lucky you're going to live half a year." And, you know, they have to give these prognoses because if they don't and you do end up ill again, well, why do you not do anything? So I was like, I can deal with that. Cause by this point, I'd accepted my own mortality.
Actually, I was going to say, you kind of like, not necessarily given up, you've just accepted what was happening to you.
I know that from morphine when I was ill. It backs you up.
Does it?
Opiates.
Oh, does it?
Not great.
Actually, you say that, because I've just had my knee replaced about earlier this year, and they gave me a load of liquid morphine to go home with. And they also gave me a packet of laxatives. This is because it might have this effect on you. So there you go.
That's why.
Proves your point.
It's when Pennyroyal 2, when Kurt Cobain talks about cherry flavoured antacids and laxatives.
That's, someone could imagine.
Given how I am now and my affinity for nature, given the nature of my job, probably Arctic Circle, Norway.
Would you? Would you not get fed up of the perpetual winters and the...
I don't think so, no. Like, you know, it'd be dark and gloomy, you know, you throw in some black metal, it'd be alright.
Some Burzum and away you go.
Exactly. You know, like, no, it would just be nice to live out in the wilderness. I don't think Steph would agree.
No.
But, you know, like say, given my vocation now and everything that I take interest in now, like conservation and arborism, and no, I'd like to live in the wilderness.
Would you? Would you?
Absolutely.
Would you not prefer, I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains or somewhere like that, somewhere less extreme, or would you like that extreme?
I think I'd prefer the extreme. Like, I'd probably build like a cabin, you know, like the Outpost and The Thing.
Yeah.
Try not go stir crazy or get cabin fever.
Do you think you would? Because I mean, there's so many people that thought that'd be their thing, and then COVID happened, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, actually...
I was actually okay through COVID.
I was?
Yeah, I was totally fine with being isolated and not near people.
I remember, because you were mega, because it was because of what you'd been through.
The Department of Health letters I got, stay inside. Yeah. You breathe the air, you're going to die, you know? I'm like, whoa. Like, so for those three months of that first lockdown, we had that really nice weather. Yeah. I didn't even leave the edge of the front doorstep. I was literally...
You was just cocooned inside your house.
Yeah. But by the end of it, I was fine. Yeah. I mean, I think COVID changed a lot of people's mindsets for the worst. Yeah. Like, COVID's got a lot to answer for in that retrospect. Yeah.
And it has changed the world completely. Yeah, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Not for the better either.
No, like, I find a lot of people's attitudes changed, and, you know, people were acting more entitled. And, you know, like, and I worked that 50% off. Yeah. Eat out to help out. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were chefing then.
I was chefing, and people would eat the entire meal and then still complain and get another free meal, and I got like the brunt of that entitlement, and it just like, people were always this horrible, and I think COVID just made people worse. And more peculiar, and you know, and damaged a lot of people's mental health. Like
100%.
You know, some days I was like, oh God, this again. Yeah. I can only eat so many brie and crackers and tatty hash. Because I had my friends come and deliver food for me, and that's literally all I lived off was tatty hash, brie and crackers. That's all I ate. You know, and there's only so many video games you can play. Yeah. Like, recently I've actually quit video games.
I was going to say, have you always been a bit of a gamer as well?
Yeah, I used to be really big into, like, up until about age 22, and then...
Because what sort of games were we talking? Call of Duty, or you?
No, I was more into like my RPGs, like Elder Scrolls and stuff like that. And
so, what's that sort of
like open worlds, like RPG swords and bows and like all the fantasy stuff. Yeah. And I don't know, recently
D&D, but on a screen.
Yeah. I love D&D.
D&D
is awesome.
I just love fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, fantasy stuff and horror. I think anything that takes you out of your world, that you can absorb yourself into that other world.
Yeah.
Is
See,
awesome.
it kind of stagnated with me. That kind of stuff, like especially recently, I'd get up, turn on my Xbox. I was there for 5 minutes and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I'd start a game and I'm like, this isn't
not
draw me in anymore. Like I didn't find any happiness with video game anymore. So I thought, you know what? I'll sell my Xbox.
Yeah.
I'll detox myself from video games.
Right.
Just completely. Like, and
so you seem to have a knack of just, not that you were addicted, but you seem to have a knack of just stopping. You just stop smoking, stop drinking. And other people out there listening to this going, geez, I wish I could do that, because I've been wearing nicotine patch for 20 years.
I think I get very bored of things, but I did start vaping when I quit smoking.
Did you?
And I vaped for a really long time.
Right.
And I just recently quit
that. Yeah.
Like on New Year's Eve, and I've been going strong since.
Yeah.
Because I did quit last year, and then my mum passed away.
Yeah.
And then I started again, and I just couldn't stop. Like disposables, even like my device, I just kept going and going and going. And then I woke up one morning and thought, I need to stop.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was on New Year's Eve.
Because you think it was less, because I've stopped both drinking and smoking, and I just did it like that.
Yeah.
But I think it wasn't necessarily an addiction that I had. It was just more of a habit. So I would light up a cigarette and
definitely
out of a habit rather than
definitely habitual. But I find with vaping, it's dangerous, I think, because it's just so convenient, it's handy, you can do it anywhere. Essentially, you can do it in the house.
I think in 10, 15, 20 years they're going to look back on vaping and go, you know, there's going to be some sort of epidemic.
And, you know, and then I quit, and I was coughing up all this watery, gunky crap, and I never had that with smoking cigarettes.
No, yeah.
I mean, I was never a heavy smoker.
At least you knew where you were with nicotine.
Yeah.
Didn't you? But all the shit, God knows what shit they're putting.
You don't know how much nicotine you're getting. There's many times I've given myself nicotine poisoning from a vape. And you start feeling clammy and shaky.
Yeah.
And that's because you're out. Because it's just there constantly.
But you imagine some of these people that are like constantly vaping on the old nicotine, and then they're swigging loads of Red Bull like it's going out of fashion. They must be wired to the.
I can imagine that's what it'd be like taking meth.
Yeah, it's got to be, innit?
You're going to be proper hopped up.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Like, I used to drink a lot of energy drinks when I was younger, like skateboarding, or when I was on a heavy video game session. I'd be drinking like 8 cans of Relentless in a night. And from the age of 19, I stopped drinking energy drinks because it got to the point where I was getting shooting pains down my left arm.
No.
I was like, oh, my arm don't feel too good here. Oh, my heart's not feeling too good. And Mum's like, because it's probably there. Have you seen your bedroom bin? Cans of the stuff, full.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Brad, have you slept? Not for 2 days. Like,
it's like your eyes on stalks.
Yeah.
What's sleep?
And then you get the sugar crash.
Yeah.
And then you get the headache.
Yeah. Because then they won't have had sugar-free versions, will they? It'll have just been
all
barrage
pure.
of.
This is back when Relentless had the quote from Edgar Allan Poe on the side of the tin. And because obviously I'm into like all the gothic stuff.
Yeah.
I like Edgar Allan Poe. That's what drew me to Relentless at first. I was like, oh, I've got to get this.
I'll drink that.
Yeah. Dreaming dreams dead, not dream before. Absolutely. Got to get eight of those. Yeah.
Classic marketing.
Yeah.
And
that's what draws you in.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, absolutely. 8 for like £2 at Morrison's back then. And I'll work there. So I got discount. And then I had access to early release video games, Call of Duty, Relentless. That is my weekend, you know.
Sorted.
And I couldn't live like that now.
Because you all have noticed as well then the change in the videos from the graphics and how much they've come on in. Or is it?
Yeah. So my first video game system was Sega Mega Drive.
Bloody hell.
And I still regard that as my favourite console.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Except it's had a resurgence as well, isn't it?
And it's still, to this rate, kart games are my favourite games. Because the playability is just there.
Yeah.
You know, you die, game over, that's it. It's none of this checkpoint stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's just saved right there, right at the right moment.
Yeah.
No. Kart games, 3 lives, done. Reset, start over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think retro gaming is a lot more appealing because you know when to stop with retro gaming. Yeah. Oh, I've died. I'll come back to it some other time. You know.
You're not constantly remorphing and starting again.
See, so it's that accessibility, and also new mod consoles, the connectivity with like the internet and being able to talk to your mates, and it encourages you to be antisocial.
It does. And I think it's a shame it seems to be the route that humanity is heading down. Yeah. You know, this antisocial.
I stated with Steph the other day, the way I see the future going. You ever watch Demolition Man?
Yeah.
You know, where you're not allowed to swear, you'll get fined, you're not allowed to say anything that goes against the mold. No, you're going to get fined. Yeah. And the handshake like this. Yeah. And they don't even have intimate relations anymore. It's all virtual. Yeah. That is how society is going, in my opinion.
But it's actually happening in front of us.
Yeah.
There's people that would more than happily sit with some goggles on and virtually go and do something than physically just going down the road and actually do it. You know.
I think what the stepping stone for that was Pokemon Go. I mean, it got you out of the house, but kids are getting run over for that.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Like,
people still play that.
There's a Pikachu. Oh, but there's a car coming at you at 40 miles an hour. You know,
bang.
You know, it's mental. No awareness around it. And I see it every time I finish work. I hit the school rush and...
They're phone zombies, aren't they? That's why I call them phone zombies.
Hooked all the time.
They're constantly on.
I mean, I'm not against it, but...
And we
just need to know when to stop.
Oh, exactly.
You know?
It's funny because when I'm going to and fro into the store, same with me, or sometimes you hit the school run, and you see girls in particular, and they're there doing the hair, doing the selfies, and you know straight off it's going to go straight off. I saw
this video, so what I don't get is influencing.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, it's kind of like they're trying to dictate what you should have in your life, what brings you happiness.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm not for that. Like, I'm a humble guy. I'm happy with what I've got.
Yeah.
And there was a video of this influencer. She was on a ski slope of anywhere wearing like this black tutu with like a corset, and she's there doing a duck face and everything, and a snowboarder just wipes her out. There's no physical awareness of where she is. Like, and it's like, really?
What are you doing? But have you noticed as well, they seem to be doing more and more extreme things just to get the views and the likes.
Yeah.
And it's just, insane things.
And that's the addiction, I think, with social media in particular, it's getting the attention from strangers and the likes and praise from strangers. And I think that's what people become addicted to, because obviously praise does release endorphins.
I was going to say, with that,
it's like a drug, and they just constantly need it. Yeah. Constantly need it. And it's kind of scary the way society is going right now.
Is becoming... Even the art of conversation is becoming less and less.
You know, I can still get on a train or public transport if I'm not driving. I could strike up a conversation with a stranger. Yeah, no problem.
But will they reciprocate? That's the thing.
Most don't anymore, and it's quite sad.
Yeah,
I tend to favour speaking to older generation, anyways.
Yeah,
I've always got on with an older generation of people. Like, I've had better nights out with my dad and his friends than my own friends.
Yeah.
So
because you've always been kind of a wise head on your young shoulders, haven't you?
Yeah,
I think again because of what happened.
Yeah, I think that just again falls back on having to mentally mature from a young age to get through what I've been through. But I couldn't have done that without my mum. No, personally, like, it was my mum who I still maintain the reason why I'm here is because of my mum. Yeah, as well as my positive mental mindset. So. You just got to learn to rise above.
You have, because you kind of touched on it earlier, and you said at a young age you thought that's it. There's nothing else. There's no higher power.
Yeah.
Has anything changed with that regard?
No.
Have you still? Would you say you're a non-spiritual person?
Absolutely. I'm so even when heavily atheist, and
so you can be so. What I'll put to you is you can kind of be atheist.
You can.
So I'm not sort of professing that there's a God or there isn't.
No,
that's an individual.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there is power.
So when you're in nature, which you love, and you're looking at your trees and you're looking at just nature in general, do you not get a sense of something when you're there, or is it just nah, there's nothing. It's just
I believe
biology.
Universal energy, definitely, but that's physics.
Yeah.
And physics is everything.
Because I was going to go down the quantum physics route.
Yeah. In that sense, yes. I think there is a higher power, but it's
just
cosmic energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is how unplugged humanity is. They don't realise that at any given moment, things up there can destroy all this.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is power.
Yeah.
Like, it takes
bigger
it's bigger than any god.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary.
One little blast from the sun.
Yeah. A solar flare, even Sirius B.
Yeah.
Like, that's gone supernova. That explodes. That's radiation getting hauled at us.
And now we're all just a load of little ants on a tiny little rock.
Yeah.
Spinning around.
Well, there's suns out there that take 10,000 years to traverse around. Like, you know, and I don't get it when people are like, ew, I'm important. I just don't get that. No. Like, it's, you know, like...
It just shows how...
I think people should be a lot more humble.
They should.
I'm not saying everyone is selfish and self-involved. There are a lot of humble people.
There's loads out there.
Who are thankful for what they've got.
Yeah. But
going back to your influences and, you know, more is everything.
Yeah.
You know... See, well, I think less is everything.
Well, it is.
Absolutely.
I think to have the gratitude for what you've got.
Yeah.
You know, and especially us in the West.
Yeah. We've
got a roof above our heads. We've got clean water. We've got food. We're billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, compared to what is it? 3/4 of the rest of the world's population.
Yeah.
You know, that don't know where the next meal's going to come from. They've got no clean running water.
No.
They've barely got any shelter above their heads. And you know. They're out there wanting 50 more likes on some stupid little...
Yeah, I don't get it. I always say, Steph, society this day and age, it baffles me. It's an enigma. Like, I just don't get it.
It is.
At all.
It's weird because, so my daughter and her sort of generation, they're never going to not know any different.
No, but I think largely it is... down to how parents raise children as well, because you do see it a lot, like kids who kick off and to keep them quiet, there's a tablet, there's a phone, you know,
there's
like
a Greek sausage roll,
like
a McDonald's.
So you know, and I think it's largely is a lot on how kids are brought up, but again, social media, kids learn so much of social media now. And it's scary, like you see stuff on TikTok and you know, I mean, I was on Instagram and then I got rid of Instagram because I had an advertisement literally for an online drugstore. Yeah. Like illicit drugs. Yeah. And I'm like, what on earth? And at that moment I was like, I am getting rid of Instagram. Like, because I used to have Instagram and it was such a lovely place. It, you know, it was very humble. It was just people sharing photos, hashtagging stuff, you know, on what you love. And then you get adverts for like that. And I'm like, kids are on this platform. Are you serious right now? Like, so I had to get rid of it. Yeah. I thought Facebook was bad, but Instagram is hostile.
It's not as hostile as TikTok.
I've never been on TikTok. I don't
should be renamed Toxic.
I do not agree with TikTok.
And I know because the guy that was on before, Kieran, and he was saying that you can create your own kind of world within your social media, which is correct. Because obviously, if you're looking at stuff, the algorithm thinks you like it, so it pushes more of that stuff into your thing. But by the by, the kind of do you think this came down to COVID times, keyboard warriors? So people like create false accounts.
I think keyboard warriors have always been there, but it's a lot more accessible now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You put something out there, and some of the shit that you get, and it's just like, what? Yeah. You know, some of the most mundane, most boring stuff you can think of, and you'll get this barrage of hatred thrown at you. Yeah. For nothing.
For nothing.
And it's just like,
for nothing. You know,
forget it. I'm too old.
I'm not about that. It's like going back to like guys who buy Slipknot t-shirts and Boohoo, and then it'll be advertised on Facebook, and loads of people kick off like, "Oh, you hipster!" Like, "Oh, pause it! Oh, why are you wearing that?"
Name 3 songs.
Name 3 songs, and I'm like, dudes, shut up. Like, it's free advertising for the band. Who cares? If they want to wear it as a fashion brand, let them.
Let them. You know, if it means that someone's looking at that thinking, probably never heard of them, and then they think, oh, wonder what it is. Because I know for a fact, right, on this podcast that I've been doing, I've been talking about music with other people, and people have come up to me and they said, oh, I've never heard of that band. So I went on Spotify and listened to it, and I love them. They're fantastic.
Absolutely.
So
that's the way you got. That's the way you got to look at it,
isn't it?
You know,
it's weird.
Yeah.
But you know, so many people.
But free thinkers look at things different. You know, absolutely. You know, that's the one good thing about going against the mold. You know, because I think individualism is dead on its arse now. It's gone.
It's mediocre.
Yeah.
Just follow the crowd. Sheepism.
Yeah.
It? It's just like,
and it's quite concerning.
It is.
You know, I think a lot more individuality should come into society.
Should be, but I think a lot of people are just too afraid now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like we touched on earlier when you were saying that when you were bullied when you went to the senior school, it was just there during the day. But now, kids, if anyone wanted to be individual now, they've either got to be that strong within their own self that they'll take the bullying at school, but not only that, they'll have a shitload of stuff online.
Social media.
24/7. So it's kind of like, I suppose in some respects, it's a lot easier for people to just conform, go with the flow, and say, you know what?
See, all that phone stuff back in my day, it was all happy slapping.
Well,
do you remember happy slapping?
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Like,
but there's so many things that, I suppose that TikTok is the worst sort of antagonist for a lot of these kind of things. I know there's a lot of people do all these silly dances and challenges and all that, but there's also the darker side where people do that kind of happy slapping
like
type
stuff
things.
like Momo, for example, when that was going around. So it was like this really creepy looking, I don't know if it was a doll or but it had like a stretched out face, and it was telling kids to eat Tide Pods and stuff, and kids were doing this. You know, it's crazy because kids are so impressionable.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like this Momo thing saying, "Oh, do this, or I'm going to come to your house and, you know, kill you." And I'm like, and so kids are doing it, like, because they're scared. Yeah. The internet for a young kid, it's a dangerous place.
Yeah, it is.
It really, really is.
It is double-edged sword, the internet. I mean, it's great. The amount of knowledge we've got.
It's a great learning tool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, on these things, we've got the whole of humanity's pretty much history that we can just in an instant find something out. But on the other flip side, there's that toxic bullying, evil.
And also, everything on the internet is not true.
Well, exactly as well. You've got to have
you've got a lot of false history on the internet as well.
There's so much stuff that you have to kind of double down on to make sure that what you're actually reading or watching is real, is true. Because there's so much, and so much of it is made to look good.
Well, you got
real.
a lot of this deepfake stuff now as well. Like Russia used deepfakes for propaganda videos.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a very scary concept. Like this AI stuff coming in now. Stephen Hawking, before he died, said, "Do not mess with that shit." Like, seriously, like, don't do it. Like,
it's another. They say life imitates art, don't they?
Yeah.
So were these films that were made, you know, from the 80s onwards, were they warnings for the future?
Absolutely. You know, the first Terminator film is held in high regard and it's actually been preserved in the film society because of its warning. You mess with technology you don't understand.
This is what's going to happen.
There's going to be repercussions.
So you know, like what you just said about that film, that you said how humanity's going now. What was the film you said?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
Oh, absolutely.
But it also potentially could be a mixture of that, The Matrix, and Terminator. You know, there's so many films.
Yeah.
What was that? There's a really good one where it takes the tablets and it become.
Is that the one where it gives you superpowers?
Yeah. What's it called? And
it was a Netflix film, wasn't it? I can't remember the name.
No, it was a Hollywood film.
A Hollywood film.
And at the very end, it's all this black kind of stuff comes out of this computer, like sort of black spidery kind of stuff.
I've never watched that.
Lucy, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, was it? Yeah. Lucy. Yeah. That's Paul, by the way. He's a photographer and sound man and cameraman. He's always in the background. Yeah. Oh, what a good film that was. And then
Never watched it.
It's really, really good. And I think who's the guy? One of the guys in it. I can't remember his name. But it is a really, really good film, and it's kind of to do with humans not using. Like she takes this drug or something happens, and her brain capacity becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually she becomes this beyond.
Oh,
human,
I have heard of this film. Yeah.
Beyond human thing.
Yeah.
But then there's another film I was thinking of.
Well, that's already happening with Elon Musk's weird cyber implants.
Yeah.
Like,
and the funny thing is, people think oh, that's really cool. It's like,
have you read the papers from his human trials? 2 of them had seizures. Like, this is what I'm saying. You should not mess with
mental
cybernetic augmentation. But we're not ready for it.
But it's going to happen,
yeah.
isn't it?
I think Elon Musk literally just watched like Blade Runner and thought, yes, that is what I'm going to go for. Because, I mean, he already ripped off Spaceballs with his plaid. You know, like ludicrous speed. He stole that from Mel Brooks. Like, you know. That's a great film, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
You see, that going on to films, do you think they don't make films like they used to? Or is it just...
No, I think they've generally run out of ideas, and this is why they keep rehashing old stuff. But the one film I am looking forward to that is going to come out this year is Alien Romulus.
Is that a continuation? Is that after Prometheus?
No, it's between the first Alien and the second Aliens.
Is it?
So it's within the Ripley universe.
Yeah.
Ripley's still out there floating somewhere in space.
Right.
And this is going on somewhere else.
Right.
And
that'll be good.
Fede Alvarez is actually going back to practical effects.
Right.
He's not relying on CGI.
Oh, excellent. Because CGI
is the way to go.
Yeah.
The Hobbit trilogy is a great example.
Yeah.
Too much CGI. Yeah. It just ruined it.
Didn't
it? Absolutely.
And the Marvels, I've never been a massive Marvel fan, but then I watched I think it was the last Thor, and there was just so much CGI.
I disliked Love and Thunder. I thought Love and Thunder was awful.
I didn't watch it.
Ragnarok was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then Love and Thunder is just
like, nah. No. And I think, I haven't watched it yet, but the clips I've seen for it, Aquaman 2, I think that's very similar. A lot of... I have to watch it because my wife's mega into...
Jason
Momoa, yeah.
See, I'm not.
So
I'm not.
He's
the same guy in every film. There's no depth.
Say, yeah.
I'm very against actors who have
just
no depth whatsoever.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
The Rock.
Yeah.
They're the same people in every film they do.
Yeah.
Paul said Sean Connery. Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
His character in Highlander, Ramirez.
It was
I mean, I like Highlander, but it was just a Scottish Egyptian who's not an Egyptian. It's a Spaniard. And then you got a French guy playing a Scotsman. And, you know, Christopher Lambert knew zero English before he made that film. He learned English for set. Highlander. So when he was in the Tarzan film, he didn't speak English. So all these grunts and that...
It's just because he couldn't speak English.
Because he couldn't speak English. Like,
that's insane.
Yeah, and that is why Christopher Lambert sounds pretty not great in that film. And then he's worse in Mortal Kombat. Like...
These are all classic.
Yeah, I'm gonna fight Shang Tsung's tournament. Oh, no. Awful. See, every decade's got a dark side to films. There are a lot of crap films in each decade.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. It's funny how they never touch certain films, don't they? It's kind of like some films, they just keep remaking them. Yeah. And others, I don't think they're dare.
Oh, I read an article, and this made me really, really happy, is John Carpenter.
Yeah.
I mean, he's knocking on now.
He's got to be good.
He's really willing to do a sequel to The Thing.
Really?
I would love to see that because they did a prequel.
Yeah.
Relied heavily on CGI.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was brilliant because everything just went tied in so nicely. It's explains how the axe got in that door because it was in the Norwegian base. It told you how, that fire happened. Yeah. Why is that all charred? Like, it literally went detail to detail on what happened at the Norwegian base before the Americans got there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was great. Really, really good. Some films should not be touched. The Crow. Honestly, I watched the trailer to that. I was like, what the hell?
What's going on? Because who was the actor?
Bill Skarsgård.
Of course, yes.
Pennywise.
Yeah.
And
I mean, all them Skarsgårds,
they are great actors.
Yeah.
But that should have been off limits because it was Brandon Lee's last film. That's his legacy.
Yeah.
It was a great soundtrack. It was all 90s grunge and industrial soundtrack. It was dark.
The film was good. It was dark.
Yeah.
It was.
This trailer, he's like got a frat boy jacket on. He's got like Jared Leto Joker tattoos. He's got a mullet. I'm like, what? Like, they're making it relevant to today's society.
That's what they did with Roadhouse.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't work.
This new Crow film's probably gonna have like mumble rap in it or something. Like, it just felt like one big kick in the teeth. Yeah. And it got a lot of backlash.
Has it?
The trailer, massive.
It'd be interesting to see whether this generation gets it.
Yeah, because obviously it's based on a comic book by James O'Barr. The comic book, again, really, really dark.
Yeah.
Really, really amazing. Yeah. Like, it's such a good comic. But I highly doubt that Bill Skarsgård's Crow is going to go by the source material, because in the comic, Eric Draven cuts his wrist and recites the Cure lyrics. You know, like, it is a very, very, very dark, like, comic book.
Yeah.
Because Brandon Lee's version didn't necessarily follow comic books, but it came its own that it was so heavily followed.
Yes.
Like,
I think as well, though, because it came out at that time we were talking about earlier, so it was that kind of
I think hero films back then, like in the 90s up to the late 90s, really had something going for them, and the MCU's largely got Blade to thank for saving Marvel, essentially.
Yeah. Blade was really good.
Blade was really, really good.
Excellent.
It's just a shame that he wasn't a Cockney. Because in the comic books, he's from London.
Is he?
Yeah. So, but nonetheless, it was a great film. And then the second one came out, 2002, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Third one came out. Because they dropped it from an 18 to a 15.
Right.
And it had Ryan Reynolds in it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Ryan Reynolds, but his humour didn't suit that film. Like, you know. But again, speaking of actors with depth, no offence, guys, and you're probably going to hate me for this, he's the same person in every film he does. Yeah. Now that he's played Deadpool, every film I watch, Deadpool.
It's Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Yeah.
You know, so...
I mean, when I first saw that, man, I was in hysterics.
Yeah. Great film. I'm looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine, don't get me wrong.
I am.
And I do like Ryan Reynolds, I do like his stuff.
But like you say,
it's just...
It's Deadpool.
Yeah.
And
even before he was Deadpool, it just... You watch Van Wilder now, you think, that's Deadpool in college. You know, like, that's how I just know him. And, you know, I think that's why Hugh Jackman wanted to stop being Wolverine. He didn't want to go down to be known as Wolverine for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know, and,
which is fair dues.
Yeah, because, you know, actors do need depth.
Yeah.
And this is why recently The Rock and Dave Bautista kind of came up butting heads.
Did they?
Because they would talk about who's the better actor.
Is he the one that was in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah. So
he's the ex-wrestler guy, the big guy.
Yeah.
Well, they're both.
Every film he's been in, he's got depth. He's a good actor. I mean, he's in Dune. Yeah. You know, like, that's a great film. He's great in that. Yeah. Like, you know, and Blade Runner 2049. He had a very small role. Yeah. There was more depth in that small role than The Rock's entire career, in my opinion. Yeah. No offence if you like The Rock. But, you know...
I mean, The Rock is what he is, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's never going to win an Oscar.
I'll never see him past his wrestling persona.
No, exactly.
I mean, the fact he still goes by The Rock. Grow. Just grow. Get away from that. Just bill yourself as Dwayne Johnson. Not The Rock. You know, it's just the same in every film.
Yeah, he is.
I'm surprised he doesn't throw more people's eyebrows in there.
I did like the Jumanjis. Not the first one. I really liked.
That's a sensitive subject, Tim. That's gone too far.
You see, I wasn't much. I didn't like the. Did I like the first one? The first one came out at that time.
Williams.
Yeah, but it was a bit. You know what I was saying earlier about immature. I was that age where it was that's a kid's film. So, but then when The Rock came out and they remade it with The Rock,
Again, they applied it to the current generation because it was a video game.
Yeah, yeah. And it was kind of like, but because I was older and I was looking at it,
the kids even know what board games are now.
Exactly. So, but no, it was kind of like, I did prefer it to Robin Williams. But Robin Williams, another classic example of a man with depth. I mean, Jesus, man.
Yeah. His stand-up stuff is just amazing. Like, there's one stand-up routine I recall, I think it was in 1987. So I think this is just before Mork and Mindy.
Right.
And he's talking about, oh, do you think God gets stoned once in a while? I do. And then he talks about when he's created a platypus. Right. You know, it's like, is it animal? Is it bird? Is it lizard? Like, absolutely brilliant. Like, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And same with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these comedians started off stand-up, Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Like,
they went through the system.
Yeah.
You know,
you know,
play the club.
They earn the keep, essentially.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, Jim Carrey's saying, oh, I'm going to retire after he made Sonic 2 recently.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he'd already retired and finished.
Yeah, he retired after Sonic 2, but now he's announced that he's going to come back with a third one.
Right.
I think it's just closure.
Yeah.
But, you know, watching that, it was like he was back to his old 90s rubber face, slapstick comedy.
You see, I never used to like him, right? Because at that saying, it's just babyish immaturity. Yeah. But then I saw him in something, and it could have even been Ace Ventura, but it was after the event.
Brilliant film.
And it was kind of like,
film.
What have I missed?
Yeah.
It's like, what a...
Yeah. You know, you get a lot of films like that now that get tarnished, like, because of the certain subject matter that's in it.
Yeah.
The whole Finkel is Einhorn thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Same with Tropic Thunder when Robert Downey, because it's not down to social norms.
Yeah, yeah.
And people are trying to, like, get it censored, get it blacklisted. I mean, you go on Disney Plus now and you get these warnings, maybe culturally inappropriate, and
I know.
You know,
there's just
and then they're heavily edited as well.
Paragraph of this may offend. Beware strobe lights.
Yeah.
People smoking. It's
like, I think to try and censor things and this whole cancel culture, I don't agree with it, because at the end of the day, that's how people learn.
Exactly.
It's from history.
It was art. It's art.
Yeah.
You know, it's somebody's art form. Yeah. And just because you don't like it, you can't.
I just find it funny that we're meant to be living in a society where freedom of speech is allowed.
Yeah.
But it's
isn't. It's freedom of speech if it fits within our narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should be free to say what you want.
Yeah.
Within reason. I'm not saying everything you do say should be allowed. I mean, but, you know, it's scary just, again, how society's going.
Yeah.
It really is.
The offending culture.
Yeah.
That seems to be out there.
Like Jimmy Carr getting cancelled from Netflix just because of one little joke.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, I just don't get it. It's just so baffling.
It is.
You know.
Society.
But, yeah, I don't think they should be censoring films like they are, and all these warning labels, and you know, it's kind of worrying when you get a may cause offence label. And like, I watched Aliens the other day, and it actually had a warning saying may offend us. I'm thinking, aliens?
How would that offend?
What would offend someone from Aliens? And then I recall one scene where before they drop down on the planet, and Bill Paxton's character goes up to Vasquez and says, have you been mistaken for a man? I have it within reason to believe it's because of that one scene. That the reason why it's come with this warning label.
It's crazy.
You know?
Isn't it?
And obviously there are certain subjects in that area that will probably offend people. But I don't get to see why.
Yeah, it's a film.
I don't get why they've got to put warning label.
It's an actor portraying a certain sort of person.
Yeah.
It's not real life.
No. Because you can clearly tell it's a woman.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that jarhead humour, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's
bizarre.
It's like, what's going on?
What's going on in the world?
What's going on? Like, Fantasia.
What?
That's just animation, colours, and classical orchestral music.
Yeah.
Came up with a warning label. And the thing that they put the warning label in about had been cut from the film in the 60s.
Right.
So it's the whole centaur scene.
Right.
And there was a small centaur, stereotypically black.
Yeah.
That was cut from the film. but they still feel the need to put a label on it, even though it's not in the film anymore. That got cut from the film in '68, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, just like people were culturally aware back then.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think it's just a lot more heavy-handed now.
Everything just seems to be magnified.
Yeah.
To the max.
And everything's got a label, and you know, like, and it shouldn't. You know, I think people should just be free to live their lives how they should.
Of course they should.
You know,
just get on with it.
Doesn't matter
live.
What creed, what race, what gender. You know, just live and let live.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. It's like tattoos. You know,
these are ones culturally inappropriate.
They were.
No, you can't work here. You've got a tattoo. It's like, it's not like I've got a bloody swastika tattooed on my arm.
Exactly.
You know.
So I was chatting to Chris because Chris did that.
He coloured it in. Yeah.
So we're looking at, if people aren't watching this, we're looking at some amazing. Brad's got this amazing Japanese dragon sleeve on his arm. It's unbelievable. The colours are beautiful.
It's not finished yet.
And it was one that Chris did. Chris is one of my guests that we had on the show at the beginning of the shows, and man, it shows his artistic artwork. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's picked the colours really, really well.
That is awesome. I'm guessing because I've never had. You can see mine, but did it hurt in there?
No, not really. The most painful area on this arm was the crease in my elbow.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. You'd think after being jabbed with so many needles I'd be used to it. Yeah. No, I'm not. If anything, it's probably made that area weaker.
Has it? So how far, does it go right up to
all the way up.
Oh, nice. Look at that. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And are you going to continue with that? Are you what?
Yeah, I've still got colour to go in and some areas to line, because this sleeve was originally done by Wendy Brown.
Right.
And she fell ill, she got lymphoma, bless her, and she ended up moving back down to Weston-super-Mare.
Right.
And I needed it coloured.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with Chris one day, says, I've got a sleeve done by Wendy. He knows Wendy from his stint at Mike's.
Right. Oh, so she...
I believe he knows her from Mike's. He might have known her from somewhere else.
Maybe.
Don't quote me on that. And he's like, yeah, I'll finish for you, no problem. So he chose all the colours. He's like, what colours are you thinking?
Colours.
And I was like, you're the artist, you pick.
Yeah.
And he's doing it justice, and like say he's got to reline it in some places.
So all he's done is colour. She does all the outline.
Yeah. So for the outline alone, I sat for 8 hours. It was brutal. My arm, I got proper tattoo flu as well.
Did you?
I felt so sick after. My elbow was out here like the next day. It was.
How long have you had that?
Since 2016.
Have you?
Yes, it's taken nearly 8 years to get finished, but it's time and money with tattoos, unfortunately. Like,
so how long did it take Chris to colour it?
So far, I think it's 6 hours so far.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, 6 hours.
He does 3 hour stints.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and I am planning to go back in May.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And just get a few bits and bobs.
Yeah.
What else you got planned? Any?
So I'm wanting this extended down onto my left hand.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get...
Still keeping it in the same style?
Oh, yeah, Japanese. Yeah. And then I'm going to get a Japanese half sleeve extended onto my hand down there.
Yeah.
But not these two fingers, because that's my mum's name in katakana. I got that done 2 weeks after she passed away.
Did you?
Yeah. And that's when I got my Lost Boys tattoo and my skate rat tattoo.
Right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't want that tattooed over, obviously reasons. Yeah. So I think the Elvish tattoo can go now. I've got Elvish script there. So
is that going? It's going to be covered over by some
Japanese, I think, because this sleeve is cover-ups.
Is it?
So yeah, I had a heartogram. That was the first tattoo I ever got.
Yeah.
Of a heartogram from a band called Him.
Yeah.
Big with skate culture because of Bamajera.
Yeah. So was it the classic heart? The Him symbol.
Yeah, the Him symbol, and you can still faintly see it how it forms.
I can.
Yeah.
I can see it, yeah. It's almost like a pentagram with a...
Yeah, with a heart around it. Yeah. And then I had a swarm of bats here, because I'm a big lover of bats, especially the pipistrellus, like common pipistrelle. Love bats, have done since I was a kid. And then I had a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet with crossbones on my shoulder here. And then I had the Trivium tee, the band Trivium here, done in negatives, so it was just like the outline and shaded out. And I thought one day, you know what, I want a tattoo where it just looks professional, it's not drips and drabs everywhere.
Yeah.
I've always liked Japanese culture and Japanese art. I'm going to get a Japanese sleeve.
I think Japanese tattoos are unbelievable.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Honestly, if I had the money, I'd go like full Yakuza and get
just a whole body
neck down. Yeah, I would. Yeah. But you're talking a lot of money.
Thousands, aren't you?
Yeah.
Thousands.
Especially if you want it done really, really well.
Yeah. With the colours like that.
So yeah, I don't know what kind of half sleeve. I'd probably go for a Japanese snake.
Will you?
On this half sleeve.
What's hiding out there?
This
it's a koi.
Is unfinished.
Right.
Again, it was time and money.
Yeah.
This is like the start of my big tattoos.
Yeah.
Cara Wiley did it down at Penrith Tattoo Studio near St Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran out of money.
Right.
And I don't think Cara tattoos anymore.
She's there anymore, is she?
No. And yeah, so it's a koi, a lotus, and a geisha.
Oh yeah.
Just on the back.
Oh, sweet.
And that was more like neo-Japanese, so not as traditional. It was more new age.
Yeah.
And and then I got this. My mum picked this actually. It's Miracle in Tenghua script.
All right.
She got that because obviously we were surviving cancer-free time. She's like, yeah. So, and that was the only tattoo she ever agreed with. I came home one day with my heartogram and she just lost it because she's like, you didn't ask. It's like, it's my body. I don't think I need to ask her getting a tattoo done. But she warmed up to the idea eventually.
She got used to it.
But it's the same when I got my motorbike. I was going to Carlisle for motorcycle lessons and I came back in a KC Superbike. Van pulled outside. Mum's like, what's this? Oh, yeah, it's my new motorbike. She's like, when? It's like, when? What do you think I've been doing for my past few weekends? I've been doing lessons. And, you know, she had the last laugh really because I nearly came off. I nearly got...
Oh, did you nearly get splattered?
I nearly got sideswiped, yeah. So, I was going up the road to Hartside.
Yeah.
And this old guy just pulled out, didn't even look right, and I was about that far off from his car, so I had to swerve.
Wow. What were you on? What were you on then?
I was on a Honda CBF.
Were you?
Yeah, and I had to swerve, and I ended up into a verge, and I knackered up my elbow, and fairing on my bike got scratched.
Yeah.
So I managed to pull my bike up with this knackered elbow, started my bike, got it going, kind of crawled back home.
Yeah.
I still live with my mum at this point, white as a sheet. Mum's like, what happened? You could tell all the mud.
Yeah.
You've come off. So that day, I totally put me off motorbiking. That day, sold my bike to my dad. I was like, I'm done. Like,
can have it.
Yeah, I don't want it. Like, I've been through too much to die on a motorcycle. I mean, I loved riding it, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I thought, nah, I've always said I don't want to die in a vehicle collision. I've always said that. I was like, nah, no way. I've had quite a few people in my year group die in car crashes. And
you have a lot.
It's not nice. I couldn't go out that way. Absolutely not.
So that was your motorcycling days?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, done. Yeah. Finished. Like, no more. And sometimes I do think back and think, I would like to. It's like, that new Bonneville looks nice.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no. I'll stick to cars.
Yeah. I suppose going back, we could just get virtual headsets and just pretend you're riding one, couldn't you? If you want to get out of the system.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that because it's crazy to think. So, you know, you get like a few games in VR. Some video game brands actually bring out scented candles. You're actually there. What? Like, really? Like, so Skyrim VR came out. This is an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
And they actually brought out a Skyrim edition candle. Like, you're going to be in actual Skyrim, wandering the wilds. It's like, what is it, like pine scented? You just get that from some Harpic, you know, play away, sniff the Harpic, you know, like, I was like, what? It's just...
I love these marketing guys, they're brilliant.
Unplugging from reality.
It is.
You know, I think people should focus more on what's going on around them.
But they should.
Take in a lot more.
Yeah. They should tune into this show, shouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Listen to two human beings.
I mean, we've covered a lot of topics, some serious topics.
We have. We've touched. I think we've upset a few people tonight. But,
probably, but
you know,
freedom of speech.
Exactly.
You know,
such is life.
You probably end up getting censored. You know,
I'll be chucked off before I've even started. Well, you know what, Brad? It's been an absolute blast tonight, mate.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have too.
Yeah, I have. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you for coming.
No worries.
Cheers, buddy.
No problem.
Was there anything else you wanted to What do you think? I think we've covered.
I think
we've put the world to rights tonight, haven't we?
Absolutely.
So hope you lot have enjoyed this, watching this or listening to this tonight. You know what to do if you have enjoyed it and you don't want to miss another episode. I'm not going to say, you're all grown up adults. There's no need for me to tell you to like and subscribe. I'm sure you will if you want to. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Word of wisdom, enjoy the little things.
Yes, exactly. Take care. See you all soon. Bye.